to another fishery tour. We're still in the county of Shropshire, and what an absolutely peachy venue we got lined up for you this time. It's a proper old silty mere. It's got everything. It's, pads, reeds, snags, beautiful, beautiful carp, well over £30 as well they go, a good head of 20s, and yeah, cannot wait to get cracking on this one. Of course, we're at the amazing Blakemere Leisure just outside Whitchurch. Looking forward to this one. Well, here we are at Blakemere, all set up, all angling, bivvies up, one happy angler, that's for sure. When I first got to the water's edge, I did a couple of laps of the lake, didn't see any fish to go on, they weren't showing themselves, yeah, keeping themselves out of harm's way, that's for sure. So I've sort of planked myself middle of the lake. I'm in a swim called the Channel. This gives me access to a lot of open water, and I just feel if you're faced with that same scenario where you haven't seen anything and you can get to the middle of the lake, then actually get on that swim, because I just feel over the course of the time you're there, or we're here even, you're going to have fish in front of you, so there's always that chance of the fish passing through, dropping on your baits, and hopefully we'll nick a bite. Yeah, going to do it the same way we've done the other fishery tours. Tomorrow morning I'll head back to the car park, we'll start the tour from there. I'll go through all the history of the place, the do's and don'ts, the rules, as much information as I can plough into you. Like I say, the whole point of these fishery tours was giving you an insight to the fishery itself, so it's sort of less of my own fishing and more about the actual venue, you know. So if you're planning a trip, if you've seen the venue online, if a few mates have talked about it on Facebook or Twitter, and you fancy a go yourself, this tour is to give you a good guide of what you can expect when you get here. So yeah, we'll crack on with all that tomorrow. I'm just going to kick back tonight, relax, enjoy the Shropshire countryside, listen to a bit of footy, and see how we go from there. But I'll quickly run you now through what's going on my rods while we're here. My right hand rod, I've got that on a solid PVA bag. The mix I've gone for is the oily bag mix that we do. I've coupled that with the frozen water snails, and those two items are just fused together with the natural liquid. Now, that natural liquid has got loads and loads of goodies in there. There's bloodworm, there's shrimp, krill, mussel, and that's all minced together, fused together to form this lovely, beautiful liquid. And that liquid has sort of bound those two products together to form that nice little compact PVA bag, and that's just fired down the right hand margin just off the actual pad line. There's no other bait gone over it, so I'm just hoping a little parcel of food, and that might nick me a bite overnight. Now the middle rod, I've gone very simple on that. I haven't put a lot of bait out either on that one. I've gone for the 10mm Pacific tuna. Again, I've coupled it up with those frozen water snails, and those two items again have had that natural liquid all sort of mixed together, and I've probably put about 4 spoms out, 4 medium spoms. I'm just fishing the hook bait just off to the side, not far out, 40 yards. And again, I'm just trying to marry up with all those naturals that are in this lake. I just feel that the water snails will give me that little edge that I don't think a lot of people use them. There's a lot of boilie anglers on here, so I fancy if I'm just giving the carp something different to think about, hopefully that'll be their undoing. Right, so my left hand rod, I have gone the boilie approach on this one because I'm trying to cover all bases, you know. But yeah, two of our favourite baits there, the Odyssey XXX and the Life System, two legendary baits. It's sort of, I don't have to think about these, you know. If the fish find them, I know they'll eat them. They've got years and years of backup to say what all the fish they've caught. So I've got massive confidence in those two baits. And that's how I'm fishing that. I'm just fishing that on a corkball popper off to the side of the area. Again, not far out, 40 odd yards, and I've probably put about 30 to 40 freebies via the old catapult. I've sort of baited up past the float, so there you can see the actual marker float itself. I've baited up about 3 or 4 foot behind the float. Where the float is where the actual hook bait's going to be, so the fish can't come into contact with my line, and I'm sort of positioning my hook bait on the edge of the patch I've put out there. So yeah, that sort of brings you up to date what we're doing on the actual rods. Like I say, they'll only be fishing evenings and during the night. Daytimes we'll be doing all the filming. So yeah, here's hoping for a fish while we're here. If I have one between now and the morning, I'll speak to you during the night. If not, I'll catch up with you on the car park for the start of the tour. Oh, good morning. Sorry, enjoying my first cup of tea of the day. Yeah, very quiet night on the old fish front for me, nothing to report. Well, I say quiet night, it was absolutely smashing down with rain all night. I haven't been in rain like that for a very, very long time. I thought it was going to burst through the bivvy at one point. But in terms of fish, yeah, nothing to report. I did have a take on the left-hand rod, first light this morning, sort of jumped up heart in mouth. And just a couple of pesky coots playing around with the hook bait, little blighters. But yeah, other than that, all quiet, I'm afraid. Now obviously today we've got the full fishery tour. I'm going to reel in the rods in the moment and head off with the camera. But before I do that, I just wanted to run you through a bit more about the venue and the sort of history of Blakemere really. Now Blakemere itself is owned and run by a guy called Dave Marvel and his family. I've known Dave for probably getting on about 8 years I suppose now, sort of when Dave first acquired the place. He invited me down to have a look round, and the difference between then and now is amazing. It's just biblical, to be fair, the amount of sheer effort and work he's put in. A lot of blood, a lot of sweat, and definitely a lot of tears. So without a doubt, I tip my cap to you, Dave. It's yeah, phenomenal amount of work you put in down here, fella. Like I say, when I first walked round, you could barely walk round it. You know, it was proper peat, boggy. You could hardly get to the water's edge in most areas. There was just old pallets where I think the old sort of fishing club that had it used as matches back in the day. So yeah, to walk around now and see how lovely the banks are and how clean they are and sort of bog free is just a credit to Dave and his family for the work and the effort they've put in over the last sort of 8 years or so. So yeah, just a bit of a history lesson now. Actual Blakemere is obviously, it's an old Shropshire mere, so this was formed well back in the Ice Age, so that gives you an idea of just how old this place is. It used to be known as Blakemere. It shares that name, or has that name, because it's not far from the Wixall Moss. Now Wixall Moss is where they extract all the peat and the compost and all that business, and obviously it shares that same sort of ground, so obviously the bottom here is a very peaty, silty bottom, hence why it had that name. Obviously over the years it got changed to Blakemere. Now species of the lake, you've got loads to go out in here. You've got pike, there's perch, there's roach, there's rudd, there's eels. If you're a tench angler, they go well up to £10 in here as well, so you don't just have to come here and fish for carp. You know, you can book a swim and fish for all the different species you want to, and that's what it is. It's such a natural looking place, and that's why I think that what separates this from a lot of other waters is it's just, this ticks all my boxes. You know, I grew up fishing Shropshire meres, and to have one as a day ticket is fantastic. I absolutely love it. It's in the middle of the Shropshire countryside, and as a fishery I couldn't ask for any more. You know, it is quite hard. It's not an easy venue. You know, anyone who fishes meres will tell you that they can be very tricky waters. Problem you've got with meres, they are thriving in natural life. There's so much sort of goodies in there for the fish. You've got massive beds of bloodworm, there's shrimp, mussel, there's all sorts going on in there, and it's due to that actual bottom that it is. They're so naturally rich, and obviously the fish are just loving life in there. You know, if I was a fish, this is where I'd want to live without a doubt. But like I say, there's a line in the water, so we've got a chance. Obviously, it's different times of the year, it reacts differently. We're filming in August at the moment, so the natural life is at its highest at the moment. So attempt to fish with a boilie or other hook bait or an angler's bait, you're sort of up against it a little bit. But you know, there's always hope. I am quite quietly confident we might sneak one before we leave tomorrow. So I'm going to stop waffling now. What I'm going to do is head back to Car Park 1 and then we'll start this fishery tour and show you what the rest of the place looks like. Speak to you in a bit. Well, welcome to car park number 1 at Blakemere. First thing you'll notice when you arrive, guys, is the whole venue is otter fence. So the most important rule of all is please make sure that gate is shut at all times. You know, if you're nipping out to the shops or whatnot, just please make sure you shut it behind you. Speaking of rules, just over my shoulder there, you'll see the board. Make sure you have a read of those rules, adhere to them at all times. It is barbless hooks here and the rigs do get checked. You know, Dave does carry out rig checks quite frequently, so just make sure you adhere to all those rules listed on there. You'll also notice in the car park itself there's a portaloo that services this side of the bank at Blakemere. Now, regarding your sort of unhooking mats, landing nets, waist slings and all that lot, they're provided here at the fishery for you. Don't use your own, don't bring your own, you have to use the ones that are provided for you. They're all located in each swim when you arrive. Like I say, they're all catered for, as my lovely assistant is now just showing you there. That's all the kit that you get when you get it. It's all good quality gear, guys, stuff that I would love to use myself, so like I say, please use those at all times during your stay. I'm just going to bring up the fishery map for you now. As you can see that map, you can locate the car park number 1 there, and the first swim we're going to have a look at is the pad swim, so we'll head over there now and then we'll take a look at the other swims along that bank. Well, that concludes the tour on the roadside bank here at Blakemere. So what I'm going to do now is just bring up the fishery map again. If you can locate car park number 2 there, we're going to head round there now and conclude the tour on that side of the bank. So let's go and have a peek. So, welcome to car park number 2 at Blakemere. Obviously this houses all your vehicles if you're fishing the other side of the bank on the mere itself. The first swim you get to is going to be the reed swim, so we'll go and take a peek at that now, along with the other swims that run alongside that bank. So let's go and have a look.
Find how far to go.
That sort of concludes the tour of the swims here at Blakemere. I hope there's one or two you fancy. To be honest, I'd be quite happy in any of those swims. There's always fish in front of you at some point, so you're always in with a chance or two. You'll notice just behind my shoulder there, that is the compost toilet that services this side of the mere. Once again, guys, it is gated, so please make sure that gate is shut to and from the toilet if you're going to use it. Now, I've messed about with the camera way too much today. It's getting on late in the day now, and I really need to get back behind the rods and get them back on their spot. So I'm going to stop gas bagging, get myself round there, and hopefully, if we're lucky, I might be able to sneak a fish before we leave tomorrow morning. There's loads and loads of heavy rain coming in, so it looks like it's a pack up for me in the wet stuff tomorrow morning, which is not the one, but hey ho, it's all part of carp angling. Right, less waffling, let's go fishing. So that brings to an end this fishery tour. Unfortunately, Lady Luck gave me the cold shoulder last night, and yeah, fishless night sort of carried on for me. But I'll be definitely back booking another session on here. I wouldn't mind spending a bit more time behind the rods, trying to outwit some of these beautiful scaly Shropshire carp that are the residents in this beautiful mere. But if you want a bit more information about how to fish the place and tactics and baits at work and things like that, check out a YouTube channel called On The Beaten Track. There's a guy there called Stephen May. Steve's done a bit of time on this place, and he always seems to fetch the decent fish out, so go check that channel out, guys. In terms for booking onto Blakemere itself, you have to do this via online, so check out their website. It's a wicked website, there's loads going on in there. There's also links as well to some restaurants or takeaways up the road that will deliver to the gates here as well. If you're fancying pizzas, burgers, Indians and whatnot, it can be arranged for you. Other than that, I'm going to get on my toes now and head home. Of course, I'll leave you now with a summary of Blakemere itself and those all-important fish photos, so you know exactly what you're fishing for, and trust me, there's some absolute belters. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.